The following content has been provided by RWTH Aachen University.
Rule number 5, minimizing memory load. This basically just refers to the fact that we already know that short-term memory is limited. Remember the CMN model. We have a limited capacity of about 7 chunks. Remember what a chunk is. So you want to avoid situations where you ask the user to remember prior information from the dialog sequence from, by heart. Don't make the user type something in twice, right? Don't ask them on page 1 of an installation dialog to choose a username, and then ask them on page 7 again, oh, type that username again. I want to see whether you still remember it, right? Also, using Gestalt laws can make it easier to parse information, again, lowering the cognitive load and memory load on users. But people will forget. So provide ready access to help pages for codes, abbreviations, etc. Again, GUIs have an advantage because it's much easier to pick a menu from a list of items and than to remember a written textual command line. Here's an example. If you need to type in a special character on a Mac, there's a keyboard viewer which will just show you the keyboard, and if I hold down an option key like I do here, it will show me the special characters on all these keys. I use this all the time when I need to find special characters. Or another one here, this is taken from Keynote, the presentation tool. It has a help menu, of course, and one of the help items in there, directly there, not just the general help, but it's here, you can get to all the keyboard shortcuts that you can use while you're presenting. And that's very useful if you want to quickly find out about those. Number 6, avoiding errors and helping to recover. Whenever people make a mistake, they're stressed. I know how there's an active research asking, how can we determine the emotional state of the user while he's using the computer? And I'm like, well, that's easy. For one, whenever the user makes a mistake, so whenever your application displays a dialog box that is an error message, you can assume that the user is pissed. That's very easy to determine. So you need to offer simple instructions, constructive instructions, helpful, very concrete, and comfortable ones to recover from that mistake. Plus, if the user does make a mistake, it shouldn't change the system state in a dramatic way. It should be recoverable. You should be able to get back out of it. Because people just want to get back to work, right? So the best design is one where people cannot even make mistakes. For example, if I ask people to enter a clothes size for something, don't make them enter the size, but give them the choices that are there. Small, large, X large, whatever. If I have to enter numerical data, don't let people type letters if they don't belong there, right? A great place to look for error-free or error message-free systems is arcade games. Go to a game station where you play Pac-Man or something. It won't pop up saying like, oh, you made a mistake. You may die horribly in the game, but that's a different kind of error message. Another example is when every system has characters that can't go in a file name, which is kind of ridiculous really to start with, but it's still true. And if that is true, then you should have a way to automatically help the user avoid these things. Here's something that happens on the current version of Mac OS X, which is really bad. So I have a negative example for the Mac, believe it or not. The name A, if you type this, A:(B), colon can't be used in Mac file names because it's kind of like the slash in a directory path. It says the name A:(B) can't be used. Try using a name with fewer characters or with no punctuation marks. That's like a text adventure, right? That's bad design. You shouldn't be doing that. It should tell me what's wrong with it, or like it actually used to happen in the old Mac. When you typed a colon in a file name there, it would just be converted into a minus sign, into a dash, right there. Maybe breaking the principle of least surprise a bit, because I typed a colon, I get a minus sign, so weird. But on the other hand, avoided the error situation. So you see, it's a design trade-off, right? You can't always get everything to perfect. Undo, of course, is a huge one, right? As many actions as possible should be reversible, not just one. You want to lower the anxiety with undo because that makes people try out more stuff, right? if I have an application where I can try out things and I know I can roll back if I make a mistake, I'm much more open to trying new features. Ideally, you have got multiple undos and at multiple levels. Let me show you sort of the grandmaster of undo, which is Photoshop. Photoshop, for the longest time, only had one step of undo, and it drove graphic designers crazy, because all they could do is undo the last step. So they would constantly save versions, hundreds of versions of the same drawing every 3 strokes, right? Because they had to go back to these various versions. Now you don't need to do that anymore. It has multiple level undo, and it gets even better. Check out this video. You will see that the user can undo the actions that he's done. He's done a couple actions here in this wonderful picture. And he can step back through the action history here of commands. But he can even edit the list of prior actions, remove actions from his action history. So it's like a selective undo going back in time. And get this, when you delete something from this action history and you don't like what you did, you can undo the delete. Whoa, you know, brain explodes. Check out the video, you'll see what's going on. So here's stepping back to the sequence, right? So moving things around, transforming this good design text there. And we can pick something here and actually delete it. Right? So we delete the free transform, it's gone now. But oh, we don't like what we did there, so we can go back, undo, delete states. So that's pretty meta, but cool for graphic designers, right? Makes sense.
This content was provided by RWTH Aachen University.